Italy, in just one word, is spectacular. It is an absolutely breathtaking place to visit. And guess what? We're getting ready to take a trip there, and we want to invite you to go with us. I want to tell you all about what we're going to see in Italy. This trip is scheduled for April 10 through 20 of 2023. So if you've ever wanted to go to Italy, if you'd just like to envision what that might look like, then stick with me for today's episode because we are talking all things Italy. Ciao, mi amigas. Faith habits connect your everyday behaviors with your belief system. Rather than letting the pressures and popularity of this world define you, the Faith Habit Show for Success will keep you focused on God's priorities for your life. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Lisa Tony. Well, if you're thinking about going to Italy with us, or you just want to hear about the trip for fun, then we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about the Italy trip that we are going to be taking this spring. So right off the bat, I want to give you an opportunity to follow along on the itinerary. So if you go to lisatony.com/Italy, you will find some information about the trip with an opportunity to download the itinerary. So I want to encourage you to do that so you can find out some of the specifics about the trip, and that gives you the information of how to register and information about travel insurance, all those good things. So there are no vaccines required to travel, just a passport that is good for 6 months on either end of our travel dates. So if you have your passport, you just want to make sure it's up to date, ready to go. And I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about this trip. So join me at lisatony.com/Italy to get the download of the itinerary, and let's dive in and look at what we're going to be seeing in our Italy trip. Oh my goodness, we are getting ready to go to Italy, and I could not be more excited. I want to tell you all about the trip and invite you to consider coming with us because it is going to be the trip of a lifetime. We are going to be flying round trip from LAX, Los Angeles, to Europe. We are going to fly into Italy. And there's so many amazing things about Italy. What do you think about when you first think about Italy? Is it that flag that is green, white, and red, or spumante ice cream? I love that. How about the pizza or the gelato? Why do I always think of the food first? But Italy has so many things that it's famous for. 13 of Shakespeare's 38 plays are set in Italy. There's so much culture in there. Now, even though Italy is one of Europe's youngest countries, it has so much history. The country is known for more than 3,000 years of history. And Rome was founded in 753 BC. That's 753 years before Christ was born. And so it has become the center of ancient Greco-Roman culture. And, you know, in the 15th century, they invented the Renaissance. And so the Renaissance influenced us so much. Caesar, Galileo, and Columbus were all Italians. Some really famous people were there. Not to mention that Rome is considered the home of the Catholic Church. It is important for the history of Christianity, both Protestant and Catholics, because the Vatican is there. That is the center where St. Peter, the disciple of Jesus, was believed to have settled and ministered and served the church as a bishop until he died. And so that is why the Vatican was formed around that area, as Peter being the rock of the church. So we're going to have some opportunities to talk about that and see and explore some of those really significant places. This trip is scheduled for April 10 through 21, 2023. So that is right after Easter. We are going to be heading out and would love for you to join us. We're going to be arriving in Venice. We're going to fly into northern Italy. This is a city in northeastern Italy, and it's the capital of the Veneto region. It is built on a group of 118 small islands that are separated by canals and linked by over 400 bridges. How fun is that going to be able to see? So we are going to be seeing Venice, St. Mark's Basilica, San Marco Campanile, Doge's Place, Bridge of Sighs, St. Mark's Square, Ponte di Rialto, and of course, we're going to be doing a gondola ride. So it's going to be so fun to be able to get to go through one of the canals in a gondola. Now, for centuries, the gondola was a major means of transportation, and it was the most common watercraft within Venice. So in modern times, the boats still do have a role in public transportation, but most of the time they are for tourists and for fun in the Grand Canal, and they're operated by 2 oarsmen. So we'll get a chance to experience the canals in Venice. We are also going to go to Murano Island, which I'm super excited about. The island of Murano is best known worldwide for its exquisite blown glass. So we're going to be able to go and see some of this incredible blown glass, and we'll hopefully be able to even get to see it in action as we go to a glass factory and see some of the glass that they blow here. And we'll see just some exquisite pieces of art before we head to Verona. So Verona, it's the city of love. Now, 2 of William Shakespeare's plays are set in Verona. Do you remember which ones? Romeo and Juliet, which also features Romeo's visit to Mantua, and the 2 Gentlemen of Verona. The city is also scheduled to host the 2026 Winter Olympic closing ceremonies. So they're very excited about that, and we'll maybe get to hear or see some of that in action as they're preparing. Next, we're going to head to Ponte di Castelvecchio. You have to forgive my Italian. It's terrible. So you who speak Italian can speak into this much better than I can. The Castelvecchio Bridge, or Scalgier Bridge, is a fortified bridge in Verona in northern Italy over the Adige River. The segmental arch bridge features the world's largest span at the time of its construction. So that's going to be really spectacular to get to visit and see. We're going to climb the Tour dei Lombardi, which is a clock tower in the area. So it's a 275-foot clock tower if you're up for the challenge of doing the steps. I'm super excited. After that, we're going to head to Lake Garda. This is Italy's largest lake that is nestled right between Venice and Milan. The lake is known for its stunning scenery, its beautiful towns, its incredible food, and its excellent wine. So we're going to visit this lake, and we're going to get to stay at a vineyard here. The Ridaglia dei Zimis vineyard. It's like a very old-fashioned way that a winery was committed to. It's one of the ones that avoids machinery in the production process, and it keeps environmentally friendly techniques that are designed to avoid affecting the natural scenery in the area. So it should be spectacular for us to be able to get to go there and view it. We're going to get to tour it. It's been passed down through 5 generations of the Di Zimis family. So we'll get to see that, and we're going to get to stay at the vineyard that night and enjoy a dinner there. Before we're off to Milan, Milan is metropolis in Italy's northern Lombardy region. It is a global capital of fashion and design. So for all of those of you who enjoy a little fashion, we'll get to see the city where it all happens. It's also home to the National Stock Exchange, and it's a financial hub that's known for its high-end restaurants and shops. So Milan is going to be really fun to get to take a little gander through, get a little visit of. Some of the things we'll see is the Castle SFORZESCO. It's a medieval fortification located in Milan, which is in northern Italy. It was built in the 15th century by Francesco Sforza, the Duke of Milan, on the remnants of a 14th century fortification. It was later renovated and enlarged in the 16th and 17th centuries, and it's one of the largest citadels in Europe. So that's going to be spectacular to get to see as we get to enjoy some of the sights there and tour it. We're also going to see the Da Vinci Museum, which is an exhibit dedicated to the genius of Leonardo da Vinci in the heart of Florence. And this museum travels all over the world, different of the exhibits to see Leonardo. But we'll get to enjoy some of his genius as he was located here. The Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II is Italy's oldest active shopping gallery and a major landmark of Milan in Italy. So we'll get to see that and see some of the exquisite artwork and just the ornate designs that are part of Italy's natural beauty and landscape. We're also going to see Cinque Terre. Now, Cinque Terre is a string of centuries-old seaside villages on the rugged Italian Riviera coastline. In each of the 5 towns, there's colorful houses and vineyards that cling to steep terraces. Harbors are filled with fishing boats and trattorias that turn out special seafood along with the Liguria region's famous sauce, pesto. The Sentiero Azzurro cliffside hiking trail links the villages and offers sweeping sea vistas. So this is a classic Italian shot, and I'm super excited to get to see some of this and enjoy the food and the area. We're also going to go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or simply the Tower of Pisa, and we'll see this as its 4-degree lean, which is the result of an unstable foundation. So it's a very famous landmark, and we'll definitely have to do those classic pictures where you can put your hand out and pretend that you're holding the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We're off then to Florence. Florence is the capital of Italy's Tuscany region. It's home to many masterpieces of Renaissance art and architecture. It's one of the most iconic sites of Duomo, a cathedral with a terracotta tiled dome engineered by Brunelleschi, and a bell tower by Giotto. Oh man, those of you who know Italian, I'm so sorry I'm slaughtering it, but we will enjoy these sites. We will see the Uffizi Palace and Gallery, the Duomo Cathedral, the Giotto Campanile, the Baptistry of St. John, I can say that one, Pontevecchio, Piazza Michelangelo, and San Miniato. So some of these historic sites we'll get to see. Michelangelo's Square, or better known in Italian as Piazzale Michelangelo, is one of the best viewpoints in Florence. It's the most famous observation point to appreciate the panorama of the city in all its splendor, besides being an attraction that no tourist can miss on their visit to Florence. Now, the Ponte Vecchio, in Italian, that means Old Bridge. This is the first segmental arch bridge built in the West, which crosses over the Arno River at Florence and is an outstanding engineering achievement of Europe's Middle Ages. So we'll get to see some of these ancient historic bridges that were just, really significant archaeological or architectural wonders when they were constructed. All right, the Duomo Cathedral. How spectacular is this? The Cathedral Church of Milan in Lombardo, Italy. It's dedicated to the Nativity of Saint Mary. It is the seat of the Archbishop of Milan, currently Archbishop Mario Delfini. The cathedral took nearly 6 centuries to complete, and it was completed in 1965. It's the largest church in the Italian Republic. The larger St. Peter's Basilica is in the state of Vatican City, which is considered a sovereign state. And it's possibly the 2nd largest in Europe and the 3rd largest in the world. So we will get a chance to visit this splendor and spectacularness. We'll also head over to the Baptistry of St. John, which is dedicated to Florence's patron saint of John. We'll see the Giotto Campanile Clock Tower. The Giotto Bell Tower is one of the 4 principal monuments on the Piazza del Duomo in Florence. There are 414 steps in the Giotto Bell Tower, and you'll need to climb up those 414 steps to get to the top of the bell tower and have that spectacular view from the highest viewing platform. I can't wait. It's going to be leg day when we're climbing all those steps. Then on to San Miniato Cathedral. It is in Florence, and it stands what's atop one of the highest points of the city, and it has been described as one of the finest Romanesque structures in Tuscany and one of the most scenic churches in Italy. Then we head to Rome. Oh, friends, there's so much to see in Rome. One of the things that we'll get to see is the Trevi Fountain, which is so famous. It is the largest Baroque fountain in the city and one of the most famous fountains in the world. Do you know tourists throw over 1 million euros in the Trevi Fountain each year? It's a very famous place to do that. But there's so much that we will get to see in both Imperial and in Christian Rome. In Imperial Rome, we'll see the Colosseum, the Palatine, the Roman Forum, Circus Maximus, the Trevi Fountain, Pantheon, and Piazza Navona. So some of these places are very specifically impactful for Christians because these were places where Christians were persecuted. And we'll talk a lot about the cost of following Jesus, no matter what happens in culture and in the state in which you're living politically. Now we'll also get to go and see a little bit more of Christian Rome through Vatican City. So this is a city-state surrounded by Rome, Italy. It's the headquarters of the Roman Church and it's home to the Pope. And it's also the site of the tomb of St. Peter. So Rome, Vatican City is considered its own city-state within Rome, even though it's in Rome. So we'll see the Vatican, the Sistine Chapel, St. Peter's Basilica, the Catacombs, and Tre Fountain Abbey. So there'll be a lot of spectacular things that we'll get to see as we talk about the significance of Rome in Christianity as well. Then we're going to take you to Pompeii. Oh man, you guys, I've been to Pompeii one other time, and it is perhaps one of the most spectacular, it's one of those spectacular archaeological sites because of the tragedy of Pompeii. There was a thriving, sophisticated Roman city that was existing, and then it was just buried in ash after a catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. And because of that very quick and unplanned eruption that they didn't know was coming, it preserved the site in just tremendous detail. And so you can see the ruins of streets and houses and just ways of life that were captured because it was so quickly engulfed in toxic volcanic fumes and ash. So there's so many amazing things that we'll get to see there. We're also going to head after there, we're going to see some of the spectacular sites, and we'll head to Naples, which is the regional capital of Campania and the third largest city of Italy after Rome and Milan. So we'll enjoy Naples, and we'll go to Solfatara, which is a shallow volcanic crater at Pozzoline near Naples, part of the Phlegrean fields of the volcanic area. It's a dormant volcano which still emits jets of steam with sulfurous fumes. The name comes from the Latin Solfatara, land of sulfur, or the sulfur earth. So we'll take a look at that before we continue on to the Amalfi Coast. This is a 34-mile long region in Campania, Italy. The area is dotted with 500-foot tall cliffs and 100 beaches, as well as 13 adorable seaside towns. So I can't wait to see the spectacular views, just the beauty surrounded by the mountains, the colorful buildings, and the spectacularly clear water. We'll visit Positano. It's a cliffside village on the southern Italy's Amalfi Coast. It's well known as a holiday destination with a pebble beachfront and steep, narrow streets lined with boutiques and cafes. And we'll visit Ravello. It's one of the most beautiful places in Italy and the world. It's known as the city of music. Ravello has always been a favorite retreat for artists and intellectuals looking for inspiration from the sweeping vistas far from the bustle of the coastline. So as we get to experience all of this beauty, we will enjoy the scenery and the culture and the food before we get ready to head back home after a spectacular time visiting Italy. Now, the tour cost is $5,500. I know, how can we do all of this for that amount of money? Well, we do it because it's part of group travel, and that's the benefit of doing group travel. So this includes your round-trip airfare, it includes your meals, it includes all your hotels, all the site visits. So it includes everything. Once we leave, your tour cost is completely covered. And we do this because we really hate trips that try and nickel and dime you to death. They'll say, oh, the trip cost is this, but then there's airfare, and then there's this, and then there's meals. And so we really want to have an all-inclusive package. So once you pay, you feel like your trip is covered and that you can just sit back and enjoy. So the only thing you'll need to pay for is souvenirs. So we'll talk about any of those things that you might want to purchase on your own. But if you're interested in the trip, to reserve your spot, it's a $330 deposit per person, which is due December 30th of this year, 2022. And then all final payments will be due February 9th, 2023. Now, you can also plan to purchase trip insurance, which I highly recommend. It's a great way just to ensure that you're covered in case anything happens that you weren't planning on. Now, we're working with the tour company, Pilgrim Tours, and they offer trip insurance. And so they have two different kinds. One is called unforeseen travel insurance, and it's 10.25% of the trip cost. Now, when you register, if you want unforeseen travel insurance, which pretty much covers any and all things, then you have to sign up for that at the time that you put your deposit down. Now, they also have a second plan, which is the Horizon plan, which is 7.6% of the tour cost. And this covers a percentage up to a certain date before we leave. And so the Horizon plan is available up until we leave. So it's a little bit less coverage, but it's a little less expensive too. So I want to invite you to go ahead and go to lisatoni.com/Italy, where you will be able to download the itinerary. There you'll be able to get all the details about the trip, some of the things that I showed you today, and more information about the deposits, about the insurance. There's specific information about it. And it should answer all of your questions. So head on over to lisatoni.com/Italy, and there you'll be able to find all that kind of information. We are super excited about the opportunity to get to travel with you to this beautifully spectacular spot, and hope that you are able to go with us. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd love to answer them. And it will be our honor to get to travel with you. Now, group travel is so fun because you get to meet people and travel with the same people. So you get an instant group of friends to travel with. There's safety in numbers, and these trips allow us to do a lot more because we get some incredible group travel rates. So if you're going with us, we will have a couple of group meetings before we travel, and that allows us to get to know each other and also to give you all the final details. So we want to make this as an enjoyable experience as possible. And so this is just the informational component if you're interested, and we hope that you'll register and join us on this once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Easy, intentional, and powerful. Faith habits. Get your free Power Up prayer guide today at lisatoni.com/powerup. Thanks so much for joining me today on Faith Habits for Success. Here's to good faith habits, my friend. Be strong and courageous and stand firm in your faith. See you next time. Bye for now.